Dave Hagen? Dane Hagen. Think right here. All right, good. Does high mileage build good runners? High mileage, good runners.
The answer is absolutely yes. And it's because you need an aerobic base on which to do the anaerobic training that makes you faster, whether you're training for a mile or a 5,000 or 10,000 meter race. I actually trained as a 5,000 meter track runner, and my favorite event was the 5,000 meters. Probably the best race of my life was against Steve Prefontaine when we both broke the American record for 3 miles, 5,000 meters, and I lost. But that was my best race, and my favorite race, and at the same time, I ran lots and lots of mileage. So the Kiwis got it right. The New Zealanders way back in the 70s with Arthur Lydiard, and they discovered this high mileage. When people ask about training, they say, well, do you do lots of mileage? The answer is yes. Do you do, anaerobic threshold training, lactate threshold training? The answer is yes. Do you do very intense, fast interval training on the track? The answer is yes. And I think this allows me to take a relatively serious moment. Again, John and I were talking about that. Drugs are a big part of sport nowadays. And I think a lot of what had been going on in the last 30 years before the independent testing agencies took over about 10 years ago was we were getting this drastic improvement because people were on drugs. And they had to explain this sort of exponential improvement in the curve. And so there were these not only exotic training, but this sort of attitude that there was this training you didn't need to do. I've got this sort of secret or something. You do all of the above, all that you can sustain. And really, it's not so much the actual training you do, and then I'll let Josh take over on this, it's how you do it in a way that you can recover from the hard effort. It's not, you want to do as much as you can, and then figure out how you're going to recover.
Yeah, it's totally true. I think there's a lot of people out there today, particularly in this society of quick fixes and microwave ovens, and take this pill and you're going to lose all this weight and you can have your favorite carb, even beer, and it's like, dude, there's no shortcut. It's getting out the door and logging the miles. And that's why you see in endurance sports, the peak, guys are hitting their peaks in mid-30s, even late 30s. And you look at cycling, you look at distance running, certainly the top times come later, because in high school I was a soccer player. I was 35 miles a week, and in college by my 5th year I was up to the occasional 80-mile week, and now I'm averaging 130, 140. I had some weeks over 150 miles during this build-up, and had I tried to do that back then, I would have broken in half and would have got full body stress fracture. And I think it's important to take your time as you're increasing the training, and like Frank said, is be able to recover from the hard session.
And a lot of that long, easy running you do is recovery. You're actually recovering while you're doing this. It's not so much your training, you're recovering from the hard training through this easy running. The other thing, and then we'll leave it, but I think it's walk away tonight, remember nothing else, it's never increase your mileage intentionally. Let it increase as you get fitter and fitter and fitter in your anaerobic training.
Yeah, that's a great word of advice. I think a lot of times people put in their schedule, okay, well, I'm going to hit this X amount of miles here, and X amount of miles here, and X amount of miles here, and X amount. Yeah, that's the thing. You want to just get out the door, and then one day you're running and you're at 7 miles, where you usually turn around on your long run that's going to be 14 miles, and you go, hey, I feel pretty good, I'm going to keep going, and all of a sudden you've run 18 miles. And you're just getting fitter. Your heart rate's the same, it's staying low, and you're just able to cover the miles, and the next day you wake up and you're not sore and you're not beat up.
Alan, we were talking earlier.